Before we begin, I would just like to say a massive thank you for joining the conversation. Everything I share on Atlas comes from my own experiences, observations, research, and my personal opinions. While I will always aim to provide accurate and helpful information, nothing discussed here should be taken as medical, psychological, financial, or any other type of professional advice. If you are experiencing crisis, please do reach out to a qualified professional or seek your local emergency services. Now, let's begin. So why do so many men struggle in silence? It's encouraging to see that there is more and more conversations around men's health. However, change takes time. And just knowing that there is support out there is very different from feeling like you're able to use it. And it's not about judging men for not speaking, but it's about trying to understand why for some men, speaking seems to be harder than continuing to carry that weight by themselves. And let me be clear with what I mean by support. It's not just therapy, although it's obviously part of it. But support can start with as small of a step as going out for a coffee with a friend and having a conversation, or asking for advice, or leaning on somebody you trust and sharing that you're going through a harder period in your life. It's something that I struggled for a long time myself, not wanting to open up or share about the challenges that I was going through for a multitude of reasons. I did not want to share with my family because I knew that they love me, they care about me, and I didn't want them to worry. Similarly with my friends. In my head, with friends, you normally hang out, have a good time, and enjoy your lives together rather than burden them with the challenges that I was facing. And I didn't want to put that responsibility on them to try and help me. And then for a long time, I used to think that it was just in my head. I was probably just making it up. I wasn't actually struggling with anything serious. And once it started getting harder, I started telling myself that there's people who have it way, way worse. There's people who have actual problems, or how I saw it. There's people who may be living in war zones or don't have a roof over their head, or perhaps they don't even have food to eat. What gives me the right to then complain about my life or the struggles that I'm having? But just because somebody might be going through even rougher time doesn't mean that your struggles are invalid. Interestingly for me, I didn't necessarily fear how others would view me. But my big challenge about opening up was how I feared I would view myself. I was already not really happy with where I was in life and what I was doing. And then I saw that opening up or seeking for help would be just another failure, another weakness of mine. I felt like as a man, I had to be the one helping others rather than looking for help from others. I saw it as a weakness in myself. But sometimes you can't carry that weight by yourself, and you do need others to support you. And I also kept telling myself that this hardship, it's just building my character, that it's just going to make me stronger, and that I just need to push through it and endure it. But again, sometimes there's things that's too much for one person to carry. And when I reflected on these things, I realized that not speaking actually creates two massive issues. Number one is the more obvious one, that you're denying yourself the opportunity to actually get better and progress, both in terms of how you feel as well as with your life in general. And number two, what I realized is that when you don't talk about what's going on in your life, you end up trying to hide it. And when you're trying to hide it, it creates extra pressure, extra burden on yourself. I don't know whether you're anything like me, but I pretty much wear my heart on my sleeves. And if I'm happy or sad or angry, you can pretty much see it written across my forehead. So I knew that I need to try very hard to hide how I'm actually feeling. And it kept putting a lot of extra pressure and almost anxiety on myself. And I kept removing myself from situations where I'd be spending time with family or friends. And when I would be with them, I'd be speaking a lot less because I didn't want to say anything that might give away how I'm actually feeling. And I realized it's very unhealthy. And most likely they can tell anyways. And there could be a lot of other reasons why men don't share what they're going through. It might be their fear of how others might view them, how it may affect their relationships or work. It may also be that they've tried opening up in the past but have gotten hurt, so they've decided to close themselves down from opening up to the world. It could also be that they're just not sure on what support's available there or how to reach it. Or some men, like mentioned last time, might not even have a single close friend to talk to. So who is their first point of contact from then? Who do they reach out to ask for this support? So for a lot of men, it's difficult to reach out for support. So it's helpful if we can start picking up on small cues and things that can indicate that they might be struggling with things, and perhaps reach out from our side to them to encourage them opening up. Obviously, it's easiest to do this if you know somebody, because you'll have a better understanding of what their baseline is, and then you can start looking out for small things where they're off their usual. So it could be changes in their behavior, not wanting to spend as much time together and withdrawing themselves from opportunities to be with friends or family or their social circle. It could be becoming a lot less talkative and more introverted. It could be perhaps hiding their feelings behind jokes and making jokes about themselves that actually are masking how they're feeling. Could also be changes in their interest or lack of interest in things they used to care about, their hobbies. I know it was an indicator for myself that I realized I'm normally very passionate about basketball, get very involved, very energetic about it, very excited about every game, every practice. But when I was going through this period, I noticed I started caring a lot less. I didn't mind if I missed a practice or if I couldn't make it to a game. And that's, funnily enough, was one of the indications to myself that I was struggling with something. I was not my normal self. And for some men, they might actually be trying to reach out to you without being too obvious. So some men may perhaps try to test the waters, so to say. They may give you small cues where they're trying to see whether they can trust you, whether they can open up to you. I know I've been guilty of missing such cues with some of my close friends when they've tried reaching out. And it can be something as subtle and small as saying that it would be good to hang out or to meet or do something out of the ordinary that they wouldn't normally suggest. And when you do notice these types of cues, it's important that you recognize it and you make yourself available for your friends. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll always be able to do what they want, but just acknowledging that you're there for them. And if you can't make a certain invitation, proposing another time to speak. And when you are speaking to them, it's important that the way you approach the conversation is to listen and to be there for them, rather than going in thinking that you've got all the solutions and you're going to start proposing changes or giving advice. But you don't know their story and you're not a professional as well. So our role is not to fix their problems, but it's to let them know that they're not alone. They can always rely on us. They can lean on us and just be there for them. And there may be times when you notice somebody is probably struggling, but they don't reach out to you. So it may be worth you trying to connect and understand whether there's something you can do. And a few pointers for that would be, try to speak to them when it's just the two of you, rather than with people around. And don't be too pushy, but just make it clear that you've noticed certain changes in their behavior perhaps, and you just wanted to check in to make sure they're all right. And it could be that they start opening up to you and telling you what is happening in their life. Make sure you're there to listen. Make sure you don't rush them. And hear what they say and remember what they say. Because if you dismiss them now, once you've checked in, they won't feel safe opening up to you next time. And if they don't open up straight away, just check in again in a few days or a week, just to make sure they're okay, and to reiterate that you're there for them if they want to talk. But remember that, as mentioned before, we're not professional, licensed specialists, and it's not our place to prescribe them what they should be doing. So our role is to support them, be there for them, listen to them. And if they do ask for advice, obviously you can provide your personal opinion. And that's the whole reason why I wanted to create Atlas. It's to give men, firstly, an understanding that they're not alone in this, to hear that there's other people going through certain challenges. Because have you ever noticed that sometimes they might not open up, but then when they hear someone else talking, suddenly chirp in and be like, do you know what? I've gone through that as well. And then they try to start opening up a little bit through that group experience. So I wanted to create this to show them that there are other people going through things in life and give them the opportunity to share their experiences, share their struggles, share their questions. Hence, I've also created the Facebook group where you can post anonymous questions, feedback, concerns, whatever it is you might be going through. And to continue this conversation, after this episode, I will be posting a question on Facebook group. And the question will be, have you ever felt like you wanted to talk to somebody but feared opening up? And if so, why? Join us next week when we'll be looking in more detail around the 5 pillars of men's health and how they affect one another and can influence them both in a positive and negative way. See you next week.